What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. Hope you guys are keeping well. Now, I need to make a shooting board for my new workbench, so that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. We're going to keep it super simple. There's too much noise made about shooting boards. People make them way too complicated. Keep it simple. You can build it in half an hour. It is the most essential jig that you can have in your workshop. And I also answer the most commonly asked question I get about shooting boards in this video. And I'll explain how it works and why it does what it does with the hand plane, and that question that I always get asked. I'll show you guys exactly in this video as well. So without further ado, let's quickly make ourselves a simple, accurate shooting board. Okay, so the materials we're going to be using, I have some birch ply offcuts, so that's what I'm going to be using. Use a manufactured timber product for your shooting board. Plywood is perfect because it's extremely stable, and that's what you want. You don't want anything moving or shifting on your shooting board. I have made in the past lovely hardwood shooting boards. This one is made from sapele and maple with a removable 45-degree fence, all that gubbins. This moved, slightly cupped, bowed, all that kind of stuff. Hardwood will move over time. They do make beautiful bench hooks and they do make beautiful shooting boards, but hardwood will move a lot more than plywood, so make your shooting board out of plywood. Okay, let's answer the number one question that I always get asked, and that is, how does the plane not take pieces out of the shooting board? Well, it does. And you don't have to stop that, and that is not actually a problem whatsoever. So you can see now, this is a pretty worn in shooting board. You can see the gap right here between the top of my shooting board and my plane. You can see that dark line running all the way down it. It's getting a little less back here because I haven't removed much material. But don't worry about that. Your plane blade's blade does not go edge to edge. So you have the distance here from the edge of the plane blade out to the edge of the sole of the plane, which will not ever be taken away on your shooting board. It remains there. And now I can run this plane, because it's now worn in, I can run the plane up and down the side of my shooting board. Look, it's not now removing any material. And because we cut this originally perfectly straight, that little bit that's left over is still perfectly straight there. It's still perfectly square to my fence, and everything is still perfectly square to my plane. So wearing in your shooting board is actually a good thing. Some people actually cut these on a table saw and just leave that little piece here for the plane to reference on. You don't need to do that. You will wear it in naturally, and wearing in your shooting board is not a big deal. You will remove material from your shooting board, but it will not affect your shooting board over time. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I'll give you guys a little close up down the side just to really hammer this point home, and you'll see it for yourselves. Okay, so if you look at my square now, resting on the part where my plane runs, here's my fence here, this is the top of my shooting board. You can see the little gap that's there now, but there's no gap on the bottom down here, and that's what the plane is referencing, and that's what the plane will always reference. And you will end up with this little gap. It will eat into the shooting board, but it will eat in no further than that, so long as you don't extend the blade. And even if you do extend the blade, it doesn't matter, because this part down here is always going to remain straight. The sole of the plane will always run on this, and it doesn't make a difference. So your plane will eat into your shooting board, but only so far, and the sole can't go in any further than that. So hopefully that answers that question that I always get asked. Now let's get on and build a shooting board. Okay, so we're going to be using 18mm or 3/4 birch ply for the base, and a good size for a shooting board is 600 by 300, or roughly 1 foot by 2 foot, 2 foot by 1 foot. For the top, then we're going to be using 12mm or 1/2 inch birch ply. Now, you don't have to use birch ply. This was a perfectly good shooting board, perfectly serviceable. It was made from WBP ply, which is a lot lower grade, and it is perfectly good as well. So I just happen to have a bit of birch ply in the workshop, so I'm going to use it. It has gotten extremely expensive, so don't worry about it. Buy a cheaper grade plywood. It would be a perfectly serviceable shooting board. Let's crack on and cut this. Okay guys, I have all my pieces cut now. So here's the base. So that's 12 inches by 24 inches or 300 by 600. Here's our top, which we made from the 12 millimeter. So this is 200 by 600 or 8 inches by 12 inches. Now it's the edge of this that I want to pay particular attention to. So we got to make sure we get one perfectly straight edge here. We don't have to square it to anything yet, other than in this direction to our base. And that cut looks pretty good. Now just looking down along it, I have a little bit of daylight around the middle here, so it's not as straight as I would like it to be. But no problem, we can use our plane to fix this now. So I'm just going to let that overlap there slightly. And I'm just going to get a clamp on this if I can, and use my hand plane just to run it straight down there and put a straight edge on it. Okay, I'm just going to take my plane and I'm just going to run a cut all the way down along it, just like that. And that's literally all it's going to take. I know my table is a good reference surface to work off. That looks perfect now. All the way down along, take my straight edge again, and that's much, much better. Now, there is no daylight there, so I have a good reference edge now. So happy days indeed. Now, we can start to assemble our shooting board. Okay, first task is just to stick our top onto our base. Nice and simple. So there's our reference edge. Just have an arrow so I know that's the top and I know that's my reference edge. So flip this over. We've just put a couple of lines here. We're going to drill some countersunk holes in this and put some screws and glue this. Okay, now that we have our holes for our screws all countersunk so it doesn't scratch our workbench, we can put on our top piece. So it goes in this orientation. Just going to put a bit of glue on this. That'll do the finest. Just set that on. Now we don't have to be too particular about this part, but we will keep everything nice and lined up. Again, it's our fence to our straight edge is the most important part of this. Just to keep our shooting board feeling nice in the hand, we'll keep all our edges aligned. Lovely. That's our top fixed to our base, so that's a case of happy days. Now we just want to get our cleat on, which goes on the bottom part right here. And I have that cut from a piece of the offcut of the 1/2 inch countersunk screw holes. A little bit of glue. Plop that on there. There we go. Get rid of any excess glue. Make sure there's no screw heads popping down. There's nothing that can scratch our workbench. And that's the main part of our shooting board now assembled with our cleat just to catch our workbench. Happy days. Now, the most important part, the fence. Okay, I have the fence here. This is going to be made from the 3/4 or 18 millimeter plywood, so a little bit heavier. I've just drilled 3 countersunk holes in it, and I've selected my best edge. Again, making sure that everything is nice and square, that I have a really good straight edge. So this is what one of the most important edges, so we need to make sure that we're accurate here. So our fence edge and this edge, and they are looking perfect. It cannot get better than that. Okay, now let's attach our fence. This is the important part. Okay, let's get our fence on. This is not really a big deal. We just have to take our time and be accurate here. If we get this wrong, the shooting board is ruined and there's no point in even making it. So, you need one really good square in your shop. So make sure you spend a bit of money on a good calibrated square. These ones from UJK, they come with a calibration certificate, so I know they're square. They are square to the same level as the squares you would get in a calibration lab. So they're certified square. I know I have one good reference square. It's great to have one just for all your machines and stuff to make sure that everything, all your blades and stuff are square to their tables. So it's very important to have at least one good square in your shop. So we're going to use this as our guide. I'm going to keep that pinned against that. I want to make sure that that's perfectly flush against that edge, which it is. Okay, we're happy along there, and that's going to be nice and square there. So we want to keep everything held right there. Now, I'm going to get a bit of glue on the back of this, and we don't need to go too mad. Get that lined up, get that in place. Make sure everything is held there. And we're going to get the center screw in first in case anything moves. We can readjust with the center screw. Now, I see lots of people building shooting boards with adjustable fences and stuff. It's not necessary. I have never had a fence that's glued and screwed down ever move on any of my plywood shooting squares, and I've been hammering the life out of them for years and the fence has never moved. So way too much noise about that. Good square. Make sure everything is still looking good. Everything is still perfect there. Center screw in first in case we make a mistake. We can adjust. Now I know I'm good, so I'm going to get this screw in just to pin that down. That screw is actually a little bit small. I'll get a better one on there. Nice and easy. Checking and rechecking, making sure everything is nice and held there, and it is. Let's get one more screw on that, a slightly bigger one. There we go, and voila, one shooting board ready to be used. Okay guys, there we go, one shooting board complete. It is literally that simple. You really don't have to put too much thought into these whatsoever. Believe me, you will wear this out before that fence ever moves. So there's no need to make it adjustable. Again, make sure that everything is nice, perfectly square and true. We have a perfect straight edge down here, and our fence is exactly at 90 degrees to that. We know we have a really good square to check that. Now, we can just give it a quick run with the hand plane, and we can bring our fence in line with this edge in case there's any discrepancies, and there's not. Okay, look, perfectly smooth. If your fence edge is a little bit proud, no problem. Just work it back with the plane. The plane will bring everything back into line again. So, we know we're running perfectly square to our fence. Now what we want to make sure is that our plane is running perfectly square to our top. And that is looking pretty good indeed. And the sole of our plane is running perfectly square to our fence as well. So we are perfectly square in all the areas in which we need to be square. Okay, let's test out our new shooting board. Now that's running nice and smoothly on that. We can always make it a little bit smoother. I'm just going to put a bit of machine wax or a little bit of paste wax on this. Where's my screwdriver? There we go. Not really necessary, but you know, every little helps. Should just help that plane slide. You can just put a bit of machine wax on every now and again. Lovely. It does make a difference, to be fair. Okay, let's test it out. Okay, so let's try it out. Now I have a nice straight edge. That's going to go against my fence. Now the shooting board is the most important jig I think you can build yourself as a woodworker. Whether you use hand tools or power tools, it's always nice because the accuracy you can get with this, the way you can sneak up on cuts, especially if you're making boxes and stuff like that, and you can keep everything perfectly square. So it's really, really nice. Even for planing end grain, it's a great jig. So I'm planing the end grain of this sapele now. Nice sharp blade. It's going through that like absolute butter. There we go. Let's check and see how we're looking. Now it can't get better than that. That's a Starrett square, and they do make things square, and that is absolutely perfect. So happy days indeed. Okay guys, there we go, the humble shooting board. Keep it simple. Just pay attention to the little details, but it really is that simple. Half an hour, you will build yourself one of these. You don't need all the bells and whistles. You don't need an adjustable fence. Trust me, you will wear it out, like I've said, before that fence ever moves. And everything is nice, square and true. And we have some beautiful sapele end grain shavings right there. Now, I have made multiple shooting boards. I have made loads of them, like I said, from hardwood and plywood. So yeah, like I said, they're that simple. You don't have to do much work with them. Now, I have made other shooting boards as well, which I have full videos on. So if you're interested in making yourself a mitered shooting board, I have a full video on that as well. And I also have, if I can get it out here, stuck under my workbench, a donkey-eared miter shooting board. Now this one is completely made from oak, and it's completely made with hand tools, so there's no machines used in the making of this. So if you're a hand tool woodworker, you want to make yourself an accurate mitered shooting board, then you can make this with a hand plane, and it's super accurate indeed. So I have a full video on that as well if you want to check it out. But yeah guys, the humble, simple, keep it simple shooting board is now done. So if you'd like that, give the video a thumbs up. If you're new here, think about subscribing. All your comments, all your questions, leave them below. I will get back to you guys. And I always love seeing your comments. So that's it guys. Until the next video, when we start making something on this shooting board, I shall see you then.